What are ways that maybe some kids that's watching right now, they want to ask their moms and dads, how can they get enrolled into the summer
It's
camps?
a good question. There's information online at fw.ky.gov, and we, as I said before, we do a program at their schools where we talk about Camp Earl Wallace, what goes on there, what they need to do in order to attend camp. Basically, there's an application that you fill out in health form. Once those are filled out, then you'll send that to the address that's on the application.
Where's this camp located at?
The camp's located on Lake Cumberland. Camp Earl Wallace is, and which is Monticello, Kentucky. There's also conservation camps over in eastern Kentucky at Camp Webb, in western Kentucky at Camp Curry, which is in Grayson Lake and Kentucky Lake.
What are, now this is a good question here. What are some safety things like if you did see a bear? You know, a lot of people, the first thing that would come to their mind is run, run, run. So a lot of times you can't outrun these animals.
You're exactly right. And if you try to climb a tree, they can climb too.
Oh.
So the first thing you want to do is just remain calm. You know, if you see a bear like that, remain calm. You know, if it starts chasing you, you're going to try to scare it away, obviously. But you want to remain calm. You know, they're just as scared of you as you are of them. So if you're walking, you know, on a trail and you see a bear, just continue walking. You know, just kind of keep your eye on it. But don't, you know, panic at that point. The only way that, you know, that they're going to get startled is if you come toward them maybe at first, and, you know, if you're bothering their young or if you're bothering their food.
What about, you know, the old saying, play dead?
Yeah, you know, that might not be a good idea. They could come over to you, you know, and,
Right.
and maybe try to investigate that.
You know, there are different types of bears starting to migrate into this area. You got the black bear, got the brown bear, you know, and people have spotted bears in our area, even here in Corbin.
Yeah, there's moved, you know, as far west that I know of as Monticello, and, you know, they need to be aware of that when they're out in the woods and they're hunting. So, you know, this is some good safety advice that we're talking about now.
What are things that you don't need to pour into the lakes and streams and things like that, like gasolines and motor oils and things like that, sewage, maybe laundry detergent or things like that?
Yeah, all that stuff is going to, you know, negatively affect the, you know, aquatic organisms that's in the water. So make sure that you know, when you're filling up your boat and you're at a marina, make sure that you try to lessen the amount of gas that goes in the water. You know, not any if you can do that. And as far as, you know, sewage going in the water, these, you know, houseboats need to make sure that they have their tanks properly pumped out as well.
And educate us a little bit on campfires and, you know, like Smokey the Bear being out here and the safety in the woods. You know, don't ever leave a campfire going because we've had so many wood burnings and, you know, educate us on that.
Right. Anytime you have a campfire, you want to make sure it's properly put out. Good thing to do is pour water on it. And if you can, pour some dirt on it. Make sure it is out because, you know, the wind up, and if it's dry and the leaves are out, then, you know, they could definitely catch the leaves on fire and cause a problem.
Or throwing cigarettes or things right in the
Absolutely.
middle of a pile of leaves.
Yeah, if you're going down the road and you flip a cigarette out, that can cause a fire as well. So.
We've had so many woodland fires, brush fires, and it even gets devastating to the point where it destroys homes.
Sure.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we've seen that on the news, you know,
Yeah.
homes being destroyed by fires, and it's such a, you know, awful thing that happens in that situation.
Educate us a little bit on this. You know, we heard a story about a young man that was out near a woodland area, and he found a one-step meth lab. Educate the kids on this. Don't ever, you know, pick up bottles that's laying around or things like that.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, you know, it has become a problem. And, you know, these bottles like that can be found laying out. And if a kid or adult or anybody comes up to one of them, they need to, you know, report it to the proper authorities. But don't pick it up, just like you said,
Right.
because, I mean, that's poison.
Right.
You don't want to breathe any kind of stuff, you know, dealing with that. So
I noticed that our local sheriff's department recognized a young man that found a one-step meth lab, and, you know, so proud of this young boy for, you know, turning it in to the police and things like that, or telling them about it, you know.
yeah, that's a good thing. You know, the more that we get, you know, those things out of the woods or, you know, anywhere where they're at, the better off. You know, we want to try to make sure that those things are not around and kind of decrease their use as much as we can.
What can we do as the public, as the people in general, to protect our rivers like from graffiti and things like that. You hate to go to these rivers and see painted on rocks and things
Yeah.
like that.
You know, just educating our young, I think. You know, if they have a respect for the outdoors, I don't think that they're going to harm it. If, you know, if they enjoy hunting, if they enjoy fishing, if they enjoy hiking on these trails, you know, they're not going to, you know, negatively affect the appearance of them.
You know, and it is such a shame, you know, when you see this happen, painted on bridges and rocks and just devastation out in our woodland, and, you know, it's just awful.
It's an eyesore.
Yeah.
It's an eyesore. You know, I'd rather see, you know, a pretty tree than this graffiti, you know, or some kind of flowers or something like that. So, you know, if we educate our young, I think they'll have a respect for the woods and the water, and hopefully, you know, won't try to harm them, anything like that.
All right, let's talk about fishing. A lot of people, you said you like fishing. A lot of people love fishing. Where are some of the hot spots to go?
You know, it depends on the time of year. This time of year, fish are kind of going up into the creeks, and they are kind of feeding on shad at this point. So, you know, some hot spots would be up into creeks and things like that. As far as what to fish with, a lot of people use jigs at this time, and a bait called a silver buddy, which is kind of a reflective crankbait.